Don't be a slumlord. These are the upgrades that you want to consider to get the maximum return on your investment on your commercial property. Okay, so as you walk through this property, you see that it's been remodeled. You know, it looks nice and, painted. But here's some components that you probably don't see that are very critical to make sure that you have a good return on your investment. You have no problems with your tenants. First and foremost, the roof. On this commercial property, there's a single ply membrane roof. It's a commercial grade roof that's going to last me at least 50 years. And it's also insulated, so it keeps this warehouse a lot cooler. And that's something to consider because a lot of tenant requirements, sometimes they want air conditioning. So if you could sell them on the fact that you have a new roof, it's going to save you some money without having to put that air conditioning unit in the actual property. Another thing here, you see there's a mezzanine. This is called the mezzanine. This is a bonus storage area that we utilize by reinforcing the existing ceiling of the office on the other side of this wall, which gives us an additional space where someone can occupy, whether for more offices, for more storage, you name it. So that mezzanine area is a complete bonus, absolutely. Leading into the office area, you'll see that it's just a clean office, right? But we did put vinyl floors in here to give it more of a aesthetically appealing look. Whether there's going to be a receptionist in here or even shooting content, it gives it a look where, it's appealing. It's appealing for someone to create content like I'm creating right now. As you see here, there's also can lights. The can lights are great because they're LED lights. You get massive amount of lighting in here, and they're energy efficient. So just making sure that you have, the simple basics for someone to occupy premises where they're going to be able to utilize every component of the property is very important. So this office space is just cookie cutter is what I call it. It's cookie cutter. All right, so right here in this area, there are two bathrooms, nothing special. But what was done here was that the sewer line was recoated. It was not replaced. There was no need to dig it up. Shout out to Legacy Sewer and Drain. They came in here and they coated the line. What that means is that they descaled the existing line, cast iron, and they clean it up by descaling it. Essentially, they're sanding down all of the corrosion, and then they hit it with a new liner. Okay, so they line it 100-year liner, which essentially gives us a new sewer line so that there's no backing up in the bathroom. The last thing you want is an unhappy tenant. We want happy tenants that are going to stay, sticky tenants. And one thing's for sure, plumbing can become a big issue if it's not addressed initially. And as a landlord, you want to make sure that, it's an additional expense. You write it off, get your bonus appreciation on it, whatever you got to do to make sense of it. But it's critical that plumbing gets addressed. Here, so what we have is a 200 amp panel here, okay? And as you see, all the breakers are labeled. And it's important to have sufficient power, right? So this is an upgrade. Before there was only 100 amps. This is a 200 amp panel with 240 volts. So this opens me up to a lot more tenants, right? It's not a heavy manufacturing capability, but it does have some manufacturing capability. Anything heavy would be considered like a 400 amp panel with a 480 volt. So know your requirement, know what your building is, the demand is for, so that you could supply that specific energy supply that a tenant's gonna want and pay a premium for, right? Because at the end of the day, you want a return on your investment. Any of these items that I'm talking about, they should be given a return. We're walking up the mezzanine right now, okay? So this was all added. This entire space was added and reinforced, and there's even laminate floors that were put up here. But this area is reinforced. Now you can store stuff in here. You can work out, have a party, whatever you want to do. This was not here before. So space was created, therefore value was created. So a mezzanine, in my opinion, is one of the best upgrades anyone could do to their property. Be mindful that you probably don't want to do it on the entire thing, on the entire site, because then you'll have a height restriction, right? We restrict the height in the office area below this now, but we still have tons of clear height on the rest of the warehouse. You also see here that there are skylights here. There's no lights on in the warehouse, and there's plenty of light. Natural light. These skylights bring in quite a bit of light, and in my opinion, it's just a great added feature, right? It's a great added feature. So coming back down, you see that the floors are concrete. You could polish them, here they're left as is. The reality is you don't know what business is going to occupy the property until that lease is signed. So I would suggest not doing anything with the floors until you get a tenant that is in negotiations where they may require a tenant improvement, and then you have that decision to make if you want to accommodate to their requirements. Okay, coming to the back, this is probably one of the most fundamental things that you want to consider is securing your yard. There's not a big yard here, but as you see here, there's a gate, right? And this provides privacy to the tenant. This provides privacy to the business and whatever's behind here. So with this small area, now it's secured. Someone has more assurance, more peace of mind that no one's gonna break in here and take anything. Right here, we have a roll-up door, nothing special. But as you see here, it's operable. So make sure that your doors are operable, whether they're electric or whether they're manual, make sure that they're working fine, okay? And with that being said, I always try to say don't overdo it on your upgrades until you know who's going to occupy, and then you could do it once the lease is signed, or they could do it as a tenant improvement themselves. So these are just the basics, the fundamentals that I recommend you consider when you're doing upgrades on your commercial property so that you have the highest return on your investment. If you have any questions, you need any recommendations on trade workers, don't hesitate to reach out, shoot a message directly on this video, comment below, and tell me more about the projects you're working on. We're curious. We want to see how we can serve, and we'll see you on the next video.